It was a typical Thursday afternoon, the kind that blurs into all the others when you're living paycheck to paycheck. Claire was driving her beat-up hatchback home from her shift at the local diner, where she waited tables for just enough money to scrape by. As she navigated through the narrow streets of downtown, her mind drifted to the pile of unpaid bills sitting on her kitchen counter. She turned a corner too quickly, and that's when she saw it. A sleek black sports car, parked a little too far into the street, gleaming under the summer sun. Her heart skipped a beat. It was one of those cars you only see in movies, the kind that looks like it costs more than an entire neighborhood. Claire's eyes lingered on it a second too long, and before she knew it, her car veered off course. She slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. Crunch! The impact jolted through her whole body. Claire's hands clutched the steering wheel, her mind struggling to catch up with what had just happened. When she stepped out, her legs felt like jelly. Her old car had smashed right into the rear of the sports car, leaving a massive dent and a trail of shattered taillight glass scattered across the pavement. Her heart pounded in her chest as she stared at the damage. It was worse than she could have imagined. She turned and saw a man approaching from a nearby building, wearing an impeccably tailored suit. He had dark, neatly combed hair, a sharp jawline, and an air of confidence that made him look like he owned the place. For all she knew, he probably did. He reached the scene, taking in the damage with a slow, measured gaze. Claire braced herself for the onslaught of anger, the demands for repayment, the police report, and the ruin of her already fragile finances. But instead, the man just let out a deep sigh, pinching the bridge of his nose like he was trying to ward off a headache. "Are you all right?" he asked, looking at her with genuine concern. Claire blinked, stunned by his reaction. Yeah, I'm okay. But your car... Oh my God, I am so sorry. I have no idea how I'm going to pay for this. I don't have... He cut her off with a dismissive wave. "It's just a car. The important thing is you're not hurt. I'll take care of the repairs." Just a car? Claire thought. That car probably cost more than everything she owned combined. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Before she could argue, he handed her a business card. "Here's my number. Let's meet tomorrow and sort out the details." With that, he flagged down a taxi and left. Claire was left standing there, staring at the card in her hand, her mind whirling. What kind of person reacts like that? She had just caused thousands of dollars in damage, and he acted like it was a minor inconvenience. The name on the card read Adrian Blackwell, but it might as well have said, "out of your league." The next day, Claire arrived at the upscale cafe Adrian had suggested. She felt out of place in her second-hand dress, surrounded by people in designer clothes. When Adrian walked in, he looked just as polished as the day before, but there was a warmth in his eyes that caught her off guard. They exchanged pleasantries, and Claire quickly tried to bring up the cost of the repairs, insisting that she would find a way to pay him back, even though she had no idea how. Adrian held up a hand to stop her. "You don't have to worry about the money, Claire. Honestly, it's pocket change to me." She froze, completely at a loss for words. Pocket change? Who even says that? She couldn't wrap her mind around it, but Adrian seemed genuinely unconcerned about the money. As they talked, she learned that he was the CEO of a tech startup, the kind that had taken off and made him a millionaire before he turned 30. He told her about the long hours, the relentless work, the loneliness of success. Claire shared stories from her life, too, about the endless struggle to make rent, her dream of becoming a photographer, the way she had given up on those dreams a long time ago. To her surprise, Adrian seemed fascinated. He listened with an intensity that made her feel like she was the most interesting person in the room. As the afternoon wore on, Adrian leaned back and studied her thoughtfully. "You know, I could use someone like you," he said suddenly. Claire blinked. "What do you mean?" "I've been thinking about investing in more creative ventures. Art, media, that kind of thing. But I'm out of touch with that world. I need someone who understands it better than I do. Why don't you come work for me?" She stared at him, wondering if this was some kind of joke. But Adrian's expression was sincere, even hopeful. The offer sounded absurd, but there was something in his eyes that made her believe he meant it. You don't have to answer now, he added quickly. Just think about it. And she did think about it. For days. She had no business experience, no qualifications for a role like that. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized how tired she was of barely getting by. Maybe this was her chance to finally change things. Claire took the job, and it was like stepping into a different world. Adrian introduced her to the inner workings of his company, and she found herself surrounded by luxuries she had never imagined. But it wasn't just the money. There was something special about Adrian himself. He treated her like an equal, valued her opinions, and more than that, he seemed genuinely interested in what she thought and felt. They spent hours talking, both in the office and outside of it. He took her to art galleries and museums, places she'd never dreamed of visiting. And somewhere along the way, their professional relationship blurred into something more personal. One evening, after a long day, they found themselves sitting on the balcony of Adrian's penthouse, watching the city lights twinkle below. Claire turned to him and said, "I still feel like I owe you. You gave me this job, paid for everything. I don't know how I can ever repay you." Adrian looked at her, his expression softening. "You don't owe me anything, Claire. If anything, I should be thanking you. You've brought something into my life I didn't realize I was missing." He reached out and took her hand, and she felt a warmth spread through her chest. They sat there in comfortable silence, the weight of unspoken words between them. It was then that she realized he wasn't just being kind. He had feelings for her, and somewhere along the way, she had started to feel the same. Over the next few months, their bond deepened. Adrian didn't just fall for Claire's honesty and strength. He fell for the way she saw the world, with all its imperfections and beauty. And Claire came to see Adrian as more than just a wealthy businessman. She saw the man who had given her a chance when she thought she had none, who valued her for who she was, not for what she could pay back. Their relationship didn't solve all of Claire's problems, nor did it magically change their differences. But they found a way to balance each other out. Her practicality grounded him, and his ambition pushed her to dream again. In the end, it wasn't the crash that defined them, but what came after. The chance encounter that turned into an unexpected love story, one neither of them could have seen coming.